Hope you're thorough with so far what we have seen. Till introduction, I think you people are thorough with. So we'll just move to objectives. Objectives are very important. I don't know whether you have used hypothesis or objectives or aim. I don't know what you have used in your UG project. What did you use? So do you know the meaning of hypothesis? Hypothesis or hypothesis? Do you know the meaning? A word like hypothesis. Yes.
An idea to which we actually
Yep.
experiment and find results about.
Find results. Okay. We'll see. We'll check whether the Darshan is right. Jim Steves, can you just say whether what Darshan has said is right? Jim, is that what we call as hypothesis?
Question, ma'am.
Question. What were you doing so far? Listening to something else?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I just asked what is hypothesis?
Ma'am, different way
Different way
of questions, ma'am.
Different way of questioning. Okay, very good. Too many questions put together. Hypothesis. Very good. Okay. Aparna, can you just say what hypothesis to Jim Steves, because it's not clear with what I have asked. Aparna?
Yes, ma'am.
What is an hypothesis? How did you complete your project without knowing the meaning of hypothesis? Did you write hypothesis in your project? No. You had just objectives, isn't it? Is it? Aparna? Hello, people.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Only now I can hear. Yeah. What is it, ma? You do one thing. You just type in the chat box so that I can just receive your messages. Peniel, can you just say what you have written in your UG project? Is that a hypothesis or objective or aim?
An objective.
You have just written objectives. So you don't know the meaning of hypothesis at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Thank you, Peniel. Thank you for that. Yeah, Aparna, you can just type. I'll get. Okay. So as Darshan said, you will have something in your mind. Okay, you just want to do something in your mind. You just frame something in your mind, and you just look for the results, and you just finally come to the conclusion whether the question or the idea that you have in mind is successful or not. Okay, so that we call it as result. Okay, so this is what we call it as hypothesis. We have some idea in our mind, and if we just want to work it out. So I told where can you take this hypothesis from? You have to find the research gap from the previous research, and from there you can just take this. Okay, so you can just go with some questions. Like you have to ask some questions when you read somebody else's project or somebody else's research, and then you can just have some questions, and then from that question you can just bring some statements saying that this is what is what. So if you are able to bring that, then we call it as hypothesis. Okay, so why am I saying all these things? So that it will be helpful for you to know about these objectives. Okay, so objectives is the main reason why you are doing this research. Okay, you have to give the reason to the examiner or to your guide why you are doing this research. Okay, so you can start with some phrases like to determine whether the purpose of the study was to, this study studies the hypothesis that, this is why I just gave the explanation what an hypothesis is. Okay, what a hypothesis, right? Then this study was undertaken to. So now I just want you people to read one or two of your objectives. Can you please read it for me? Mohania, can you please read your objective?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. The next person also can be ready. Jane Preetha, I think Preeti or Preetha. You be ready, okay? After Mohania, you have to read. So always keep your project with you, okay? So that I can question you people in between. You'll have some idea about what we are seeing now.
Ma'am, I have opened in my phone, ma'am, so I cannot
Okay, it's okay.
open my laptop.
Okay. Can you read now?
5 minutes, ma'am.
Preetha, are you ready? Jane? Jane, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Like,
Yeah,
what's
please.
the date, ma'am? Objective. Ma'am, I have taken and kept the paper, ma'am. Like, I have submitted my work as a paper, ma'am. Shall I read? Shall I read?
Just, yeah, just the objective alone you just read. You would have started with 2.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, it's in my paper. It's like abstract. Then.
Introduction. In introduction, you didn't give the. You didn't give the objective.
No, ma'am.
Okay. No objective at all. If there is no objective, it is something like you don't have an aim at all in your life. Like, okay, so when you are doing a project, if you are aimless, if you don't have anything before you, then you cannot achieve it at all. Okay, so try to have an objective. Okay, now you can do one thing, Jane Preetha. You just try to frame minimum 2 objectives for your project. You just try. Okay, we have given some phrases here, as you can see, isn't it? To determine whether the purpose of the study was to, okay, and this study studies the hypothesis that, okay. So if you have some problem, or if you are going to deal with some issues, or if you are going to deal with some diseases or something, then to find solution, okay. So you can just go about like that. So this study was undertaken to find solution to the problem that is existing in this particular area. Something like that. You try to frame, okay?
Now I understand, ma'am. I will read it, ma'am. Okay.
Sure. You have it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Read.
Right. In this study, a cardiovascular dataset is classified by using several state-of-art supervised machine learning algorithms that are precisely used for disease prediction.
Okay, very good. So this is your objective. Very good. So this is where you are heading towards. Okay, so this is very important in your project. Very good, now. Very good. Maybe Mohania will be reading later.
Yes, ma'am. Now I can say, ma'am.
Can you? Yeah,
Yes,
please
ma'am.
read. Yes, read.
To screen the northeastern accessions of for resistance to ciguatocin leaf spot disease using juglone through droplet mode of applications in 2 different detached leaf and whole leaf assay methods.
Okay, so this is your objective of your project. Okay, ma'am. Good. Hope others would have just gone through your own objectives and you would have got some idea, isn't it? So how can this be? You can be smart. So smart just like you people. You people are very smart, isn't it? So it should be smart like you people. So what is the S? S is should be very specific. Okay, it should be specific to your particular area and particular topic and then particular title, and it should be measurable. So whether you are able to come to a conclusion, whether you are able to bring some result out of it, so it should be measurable, then it should be achievable, okay, and then it should be realistic, not just fake or taken from somewhere, okay. It should be realistic, it should be time bound, okay. So projects will have some limited period of time, isn't it? So within that period of time you have to complete it. So if it is possible, then this can come into your objective. Now you can cross check using this SMART technique, and you can see whether your objective come under this particular SMART. Okay. So if it is specific, if it is measurable, if it is achievable, if it is realistic, if it is time bound, then your objective is perfect. Okay. Yes, you can cross check. Right. The next is methods. So you would have used various methods, but whatever you are trying to use in your project should be just highlighted here. Okay. So you should just give us the details of the methods that you're going to use. So what tense can you use here? You can use past tense because you have already done that. Okay. So it should be very simple and it should be clear. Don't complicate anything there so that the person, it can easily, it can easily mislead the person who reads that. So it must be very simple in your language and you just make it more clear. So how can you make it clear? So when you're just going to do a particular method, it has steps, isn't it? So when you just climb stairs, you have to climb one by one, isn't it? So for any method, you will have steps. So you have to go one by one, and you have to go in a very simple manner, and you have to be clear also there. Okay, so the person can understand what you are really trying to do in your project. Okay, so that is how we'll go about. So the function of this is just to know how we are going to carry out your study. Okay, and it also just talks about the process that you're going to take to complete your research. Okay, then comes your result. So after you complete your method, after you just follow your method, after you complete all that you have done, you have to tell them what you have really done, isn't it? So it will be just the result. So you'll be just mentioning about what you have arrived at. Okay, you're not going to interpret anything. Okay, you're not going to give any explanation, but just give the result. For example, you are expecting 10% of something there, and you have just received only 9%. You'll be just mentioning it as 9%. I have received just 9% result here. You'll be just mentioning it. That's all. Okay. So that will be your result, and it will be arranged orderly. Okay. So what was expected from your project? What were you expecting? So according to that, you will be just arranging it. You will be just giving the information alone. Okay. Again, you have to use past tense here because you have just completed. Okay. And you can also use present tense to refer to your graphs, tables, and figures. So where can you use graphs? Where can you use tables? And where can you use figures? We'll see that. Okay, where can you use table? You can use table when you need to present a quantity of numerical data. If you want to give some numerical data and it should be quantity based, then you can just use a table. Okay, and this is an easy format because see, you have a column and rows. So accordingly, you can just arrange the items that you would like to know. So it will be more clear if you are going to figure something out like this with numbers. Okay, so tables will be very good to represent. Right. Then graph. So whenever you think about graph, you have to think about the x-axis and y-axis. So x-axis will be just representing a particular thing, and y-axis will be just representing a particular thing. So if there is some range, or maybe there is a growth, or there is some decline there, then this line graph will be very useful. You can easily trace the growth or the decline of a particular product or particular data. Okay, and you can also find the relationship. If you have two variables, then you can also find the relationship between the two variables. So if there is there are two variables not compared actually, two variables there, and if you want to find just the relationship between these two, then you can use this line graph. If you want to compare, then you can use the bar chart. Bar chart will be just making a comparison between the two. You can use different colors, and you can just show the comparison, how the growth has come up for this particular product, or how the growth has just it has just declined. okay, for this particular product. So all these, again, you will be having x-axis and y-axis there, and you can just make use of it, and then you can show the difference. Okay, so if you want to just compare, then you can use bar chart. Okay, next comes your discussion. So this is where you have to interpret your results. Okay, so at the beginning you would have given some research question, or maybe you have just framed an objective for your research, okay, and you have carried out the research and you have got some result. Now you have to just see whether you have achieved what you really wanted to achieve. Okay, so you start interpreting your results. You tell them this is how. So if 9%, you were expecting 10%. If you have 10%, then it is a very good result. And what about 9%? If 9% is your result, what could be the real problem that is there? So this is how you will be interpreting the result. Based on the result, you will be just interpreting. And the methodology, whether the methodology is proper, whether the methodology has got some flaw, whether the methodology should be repeated again. Okay, all these will be just interpreted and the conclusion will be arrived at. Okay, so it has to be related to the goal of your study. The objective that you have given should be related to your result. So this, all these will be just happening in this discussion part. Okay, and you have actually found some research gap and you are just working on it, isn't it? So you have to show the readers whether you were able to fill the gap that was there in the background information. Okay, so when you spoke something about the background of the study, you would have mentioned that there is a research gap. That's why I have just chosen this particular title and I'm just moving towards it. Then you have to tell them whether you have filled the gap. Okay, so you have to demonstrate how you have synthesized, how you have analyzed, how you have evaluated, how you have interpreted, and the reason also. So all these should be done effectively. So this discussion is a one which just proves this is something like the essence of your project. Okay, so what tense can you use here? You have to use present tense to explain significance of the results. Then you can also use past tense if you are just going to say something about your findings that happened earlier, okay, which you have just taken from somewhere from your research. Okay, so you can use past tense there, and then present tense to interpret. So be very careful. So you'll be just using past tense to say about what has happened earlier, and then to interpret you will be using present tense. Okay, then you have to interpret your results and explain the key limitations. Then you have to discuss whether there is any contrast results that you have arrived at. Okay, is there anything else, any other work that you have read which has just shown something contrast to you, what you have found out? All that you can just mention it here. Okay, then you can give a general conclusion, and here you can recommend for further study. Maybe you have just concentrated on only one particular area and you want people to explore the broad area. You can just tell them that this is, again, you have a future scope there to go further in this particular research. Okay, so this is where you are just creating a research gap, okay, which the other researcher can take up, or you yourself can take up after a few years. Even if no one is just going to attempt, you can very well you can follow that. Okay, okay, so here they've just given you some tips, like you can just do it like a story. So if whenever we think about a story, we will have a beginning, we'll have a middle, and then we will have an end, isn't it? So same way, they are asking you to have a beginning, middle, and end. So in the beginning, you will be stating the answer and summarizing the main findings. In middle, you will be explaining all these, what you have done. And you will be linking it with previous work. And in the end, you will be giving a conclusion. Okay, so this is how you can just frame your discussion. Just go through your project and find whether you have something like this beginning, middle, and end in your discussion, and you will see whether your project is perfect. So finally, we will just end our research paper with referencing. Why should we give this referencing? Why should we give? Yes, already
Ma'am,
there.
when it will be useful for the others who are actually doing our own kind of work, so they
Yes.
can also refer the same kind of literature.
Very good, very good. So they can go and find the work. Very good. Yeah, that is there. And it adds some credibility to yours. Okay. So it makes it more authentic. When you just give all the referencing, it shows that you have read a lot and you have just come to some conclusion, or maybe you have read a lot and you have just tried to do something new, or you have read so much that it has just given you the insight to go for something else. Okay. So this is how research project should be. When you just spell the word research, it means that you have to sit and read and read and read and read. So this is the basic of research. Whether it is a project, or whether it is a thesis, or whether it is maybe a field project or whatever, you have to sit, read, read, read. So that is the basic of any research. Okay. So this credibility will be there when you just give the referencing of all the articles or journals or books or whatever you have just read. Sometimes you would have just gone through some interview, and even give the details of the interview. Okay. So it will be supporting your opinion, of course. And it will, as I think Darshan said that, isn't it? So it will enable the reader to trace the source, and they can go back and look into the sources, and they can also get all the information that you have got. Okay. And you can avoid accusations like they have just stolen from my work. Okay, they will just say this is my work and they've just stolen. If you are just going to give references, it will not be considered as plagiarism. For that, we have some limitation in projects. Okay, so you can use certain percentage only for this. No, you can quote somebody's words, and you have certain percentage. You cannot cross that also. Okay, so you must be very careful when you just publish an article based on the research work. Okay, then you should include a reference for all the sources of information that you use when writing. So when writing, what all you have just used, don't forget to leave off any of the things. So when you start your research, okay, the best thing you do is, as in when you read something, you start collecting some information, and you start putting into maybe a note. You'll be writing in a note, or maybe you'll be typing in your laptop, whatever. Immediately what you have to do is, for example, I'm just reading an article related to my topic. Okay, after I read, what I do is I just take a summary of my article. Okay, I take a summary of my article, and then I'll be just taking only the points that I need, and I'll be just typing in my laptop, and I'll keep it ready so that I can put it in my review of literature, right? So when I type, what I have to do is immediately I have to type the referencing also. Okay, so that we can just refer it later, or maybe you can just take this directly to your referencing page. Okay, so you have to keep your references as and when you refer. You just keep it ready. You need not go back to the same book or go back to the same article and then retrieve it. Okay, you need not do that. You can just immediately, as and when you read and as and when you just start writing, collecting information, you just keep it ready with you so that you can just carry it over when you finish your project. Okay. Yes, there we come to the end of elements of writing. I have an example for you. So I can just go through that example. A sample paper. Okay. So this is something, this is biology. I don't know how far this will be helpful. I think biotechnology people and biomedical people will be somehow, they will understand what is used here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. So this is the title. Now see, you have left side, you have the title, the introduction and other things. And in the right side, if you see, they're just giving you the information why this is taken and how they have just introduced or how they have just given the title, based on what have they given the title. Okay, all these are just explained. I think I thought that personally this will be more helpful to you. See the title. color preferences for nesting material in zebra finch. So this is the title now. So this title should describe the study. In other words, the title should give the reader a good idea of the purpose of the experiment. Both the common and scientific names of the research organism must be included in the title. So you can see that zebra finch is the name of the animal, and the scientific name of the animal is also given there. Can you just see that? Tophyla guttata. So that is, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right. Okay, of course, proper noun can be pronounced as we like. Okay, okay. So this both is just given there. Okay, so this is a proper title. So that is what they have just explained there. And now you can just see the introduction. You can see the background is just given. How they have given, see the scientific name of the research organism is again, it is stated there. And within each section, either the common name or the abbreviated scientific name can be used. So this scientific name can be abbreviated also. So that is what they're saying there. Okay. And they're just starting with what this particular zebra finch is and what you are trying to say in this particular research paper. Okay, so it's very interesting. I think you can just read this. Shall I send the link to you people?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll send it. Because we don't have time. We'll read as far as possible. We'll read. I'll send the link also to you. The link is there, and we'll see this one, sample paper. Okay. Can someone read the introduction? Zebra finch. And you are going to explain to me what this is about. Yes? No one is interested in reading? Gracie? Gracie, can you please read, ma? Gracie? From introduction. Can you see the introduction?
The introduction.
Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please read.
Zebra finch is an equally demographic social they native to the grasslands of Australia. They are opportunistic year-round breeders which nest in colonies of variable size. Zebra finches form permanent pair bonds, and both sexes share their responsibilities of nest building, incubation, and rearing of young. Walter, 1973, Morris, 1954, however, reported that although both sexes pick up and nibble on fragments of material, males collect most of the nesting material. Scientific name of the
No, this one. Studies on the effects of.
colored plastic leg bands on the pair formation shows that male zebra finches spend more time sitting next to female wearing black or pink leg bands than females wearing light blue leg bands. The same studies indicate that females spend more time sitting next to the male wearing red leg bands than males wearing light green bands. In both male and female, orange leg bands, which are similar to natural leg colors, proved to be of intermediate preference.
Okay, you can stop there. Now see, the first paragraph of the introduction provided the background information from preliminary or other published studies. So that is what we just gave in the, it is just given in the first paragraph. Okay, so it's something what Walter has said and Maurice has said, and the year is also mentioned there. Okay, so referencing is given. This is used to develop the hypothesis or purpose of the experiment and to provide the rationale or reason for conducting the experiment. So this is what is just happening in the first paragraph. Okay. Now this is also more of what is already there in the study. Okay, it is also about Burley, who has just said about how they are just comparing this male zebra finch and female zebra finch by just giving them different bands, leg bands. Okay, so this is already they have just proved that they all work together. Okay, and now you can come to this. So now from here they are just bringing out the purpose of the study, or we just call it as the objective. Okay, or hypothesis. Yes, the purpose of this study. Hello, are you there, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
The purpose of this study was to test whether or not this preference for certain colors of leg bands generalizes to preferences for certain colors of nesting material. It was hypothesized that zebra finches would collect more red or black material than light green, with collection of orange being intermediate.
Okay, so there comes the end of the introduction. Okay, so what are they going to test? Based on this leg bands only, they are just going to test. Okay, so this paragraph is just talking totally about the purpose of the experiment, and it gives the hypothesis. We can just call it as hypothesis, around which the author is just going to write his cases. Okay, so what they are able to differentiate the color. So that is what is something very interesting here. The zebra finches are just going to show some differences in collecting materials if it is a male or a female. Okay. Okay. If you see the method, I think you will understand. So the zebra finches used in this study were in 3 colonies in the lab. Okay. So each colony contained between 30 and 40 individual birds of both sexes, a variety of ages, and several plumage types. So everything is just used there. So they are just using all varieties in one colony. They call it as colony. Usually for bees also they call it as colony. Okay. So they're just dividing it into 3. Okay. All animals wore colored leg bands, so they are just wearing all leg bands to those animals. Okay, for individual identification, and all had been exposed to grass. Green embroidery floss and white dog fur as nesting material previous to the study. So what is used as nesting material is also given here. Embroidery floss and white dog fur just given to them. The colonies were housed in separate rooms. Okay, they have separate rooms, each approximately 17 meter, and each contained 8 artificial nest boxes. All behavioral observations were made from outside the colony rooms through one-way mirror. Okay, so one-way mirror in the sense these people can watch them, but they cannot watch these people. Okay, yes. I think you people know more than me here. Okay. Okay. So the method begin by indicating where the research organisms were obtained. Okay. So you are telling them from where you are taking it. So from the lab of Dr. J.R. Bayliss at the university, this is just taking place. And then specific examples about the organism are included, number of organisms, sexes, ages, and morphology. All these details are given. And previous exposure to colored nest material is also described, whether they were exposed to any previous colored material, how organisms are housed, and all these are just mentioned in method. Okay. And the physical condition of light, temperature is also included. So this is how we are just giving here. So your method should be in detail like this. Types of test materials. Okay, what type of test materials are you going to use, and then description of the method also should be given here. Okay, so it is just mentioned here. I think when you read, you will understand better because you people are from science background. And then comes the result. The result is just the finding. What we have found, you just give it as such, no interpretation here. And after that, the discussion is just going on there. Okay, so you're discussing with what has happened earlier, what they have said, and what you have arrived at, and whether this is just matching or what. Okay, all these you'll be just talking about, and then you will be concluding it also there. Finally, this hypothesis could be tested by raising zebra finches in nests containing different colors of nesting materials and testing them in adulthood for preference in nesting color. Okay, this can be done. So this is proof that it can be done. When setting up this experiment, it was noted that zebra finches seem particularly apprehensive about new objects placed in the colony. It is also possible, therefore, that the preference for green nest material was simply due to its familiarity. Right. So this is the final finding. Okay. So you just give that and you just conclude yours. I don't know whether future study is given. It's not given, I think. Given. Future studies are proposed to help further knowledge in the area. So what can we do in the further study? You can just explain here. I think it is given there. You have to check. Right. Then comes the references. All the references will be just cited here. Only few references are mentioned here. They have just purposefully avoided some of the things. Okay, and this is made very short for you to just understand. So please go through. I think you will feel it very interesting. And move on to okay. These are the zebra finches, ma. Maybe because they have the stripes all over there, either in their close to their beaks or in their tail. So these are the zebra finches. Okay. Can you just see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what is tested. Now I think you have some idea about what this research is about. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can just go to that. I think now you are familiar with the elements of writing. Yes. Any doubts there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can
No.
cross check. Okay, you can cross check whether your project that you have done is just whether it satisfies all these elements of writing. If not, you can just make it better. That's not wrong there. So yeah, you can just make it better. Okay. So we'll just see the next part. I'll share the text with you in the next class, and we'll start with the text from the next class. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Bye bye. Take care. Taking so much
Thank you,
time
ma'am.
of yours. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Kirtana has joined back. Kirtana. Thank you. Kanagarajan, Kirtana. Anurag.